We're getting to crunch time when it comes to the waiver wire. Robin Lundberg here with Michael Fabiano and Fabs. When you're looking at your pickups this week, let's start with QBs and perhaps the new era in Tennessee.
It's gross at quarterback right now. Some of the quarterback matchups that we're going to see in week 9, you may want to make some other plans on Sunday. Let's just put it that way. But from a fantasy perspective, yeah, it's Will Levis. 4 touchdowns. Only the third quarterback to have 4 touchdown passes in his NFL debut, Fran Tarkenton, and Marcus Mariota, coincidentally enough, for the other 2. He had a massive game, but he's got Pittsburgh this week on a Thursday night. It's a short week, but Will Levis is going to be a starter in a lot of fantasy leagues after being on the waiver wire for the first 8 weeks. That's where we're at quarterback, and he's really the only good pickup in most competitive leagues.
What about running back? I feel like more people are streaming running backs than ever. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, Amari DeMarcado is probably one of 2 or 3 guys that you could pick up off the waiver wire. He looks like the top back in Arizona. He had 20 carries last week. Didn't have a lot of points, but right now with 4 teams on a bye, we're looking for warm bodies. And at least DeMarcado is getting some volume. I will say this, Leonard Fournette, who just signed with the Buffalo Bills, is also going to be a hot name off the waiver wire. Probably not going to be able to play him right away, but because he's Lombardi Lenny, and we've seen him put up great numbers before, even though he's going to be in a committee in Buffalo, still going to be a hot ad.
How about wide receiver? Who's going to be getting some targets going forward?
Brandon Cooks, he started the season off and he was on everybody's roster. He did nothing. He got cut. And now he's back in our good graces. 14-plus points in 2 straight games. They've got the Eagles this week. They have been awful against wide receivers this year. So you can actually pick up Brandon Cooks and start him this week. And you can also pick up Marvin Mims as a speculative ad with the trade deadline coming up here. If the Broncos do decide to make a deal, Mims could see more work at wide receiver moving forward.
Finally, tight end, another position that I think people juggle week to week.
Trey McBride was great. We told you to pick him up last week, Jen and I. And, I mean, he exceeded our expectations. He had a huge game. 10 catches, over 25 fantasy points. Had that crazy touchdown where he was barely in, and then the offensive line kind of pushed him in there. But massive game. The volume was there. He doesn't have a great matchup upcoming against Cleveland, but still, you'll take Trey McBride's volume all day long without Zach Ertz. And Taysom Hill's another player to pick up off the wire. 3 straight games, double-digit points. And you could play him at tight end, but he's a running back, he's a quarterback, he's a tight end. He's a Swiss Army knife.
You certainly are that as well when it comes to fantasy. And also, Fabs, I guess the biggest Arizona Cardinals supporter out there now.
That's where we're at right now, man. It's rough sledding out there in those fantasy streets, especially when you have 4 teams on a bye and so many injuries, especially at quarterback.